Thank you for joining us on 24 Plus. We have breaking news in Cordova right now where there is a large police presence at the Wolfchase Mall. We are working to learn what exactly happened and why law enforcement is surrounding the building, but we're going to take you to a map now. We do know that all roads into the mall are blocked off. This is a map of that area. If you plan to go do some shopping, you may want to hold off because there's a heavy police presence there. ABC 24 is there now. Here is a live look from the scene outside the Dillards. You can see some officers parked right outside. This is in the town of Cordova, obviously. It's reporting there was a shooting inside of the mall. Now, we are working to get that confirmed from police, but we do have a reporter headed that way, and they're working to get new information as it becomes available. But you can see the access inside into the mall is totally blocked off. You see state troopers there. Our reporter who was working his way into that area said that he had already seen the FBI on scene as well. We are hearing that there was a shooting at the Wolfchase Mall. We're working to get that confirmed, and if police are looking for a suspect, and if they have even named a suspect. But heavy presence. They are the mall is put on lockdown at the moment, and shoppers are being escorted out if they're not already out at this point. But heavy law enforcement presence, state troopers are there. It's going to be a team effort. We heard the FBI was there from our very own reporter who is working to get more details from that scene. We're taking you right now where the Dillards is. So if you're familiar with this area, this is actually on the other side of the food court. We were hearing reports that the suspect may have ran out of the carousel area, but that is unconfirmed at this point. We're hearing a lot of scanner traffic and what the police are communicating to themselves. But at this time, you can see there's a heavy police presence around all of the entrances into the Wolfchase area. We see state trooper cars. You see people coming out of the mall. It is on lockdown. Nobody is getting in, and everybody is being told to leave at this moment while they figure out exactly the nature of what is happening here. We are continuing to cover this. We have a reporter on the scene. We're bringing you this shot live. This is the Wolfchase Mall. We are still working to learn what exactly happened and why law enforcement is surrounding the building, but there have been early preliminary reports of a shooting, and yet no exact idea of what a suspect looks like, just the fact that there was possibly a shooting inside. Lots of precautionary measures being taken right now. As you can see, lots of law enforcement presence. Our reporter told us that the FBI is on the scene as well. This is in front of the Dillards side. The other side that has a heavy police presence is near the food court. That's the carousel entrance as well. The entire place is surrounded. You cannot get in. If you are trying to shop today, definitely hold off on those plans because there's a heavy police presence trying to figure out more about reports of a shooting. The mall is on a lockdown at the moment. We are working to find more information. Our reporter Ezekiel Telemaco is working the scene out there, trying to get some access into where he can get into. As you can imagine, it would be very hard given that law enforcement presence is really heavy at this moment. So this is the Wolfchase Mall. This is in Cordova. The town of Cordova did post a Facebook post talking from an experience from a woman who was in there with a family member where they heard gunshots going off inside the mall, and then they exited, and that's where police now are surrounding the mall. That is unconfirmed. That is just on the town of Cordova's Facebook page, and we are following every development that we can. We are requesting from the police more information, but as of right now, as we can see, there are state troopers outside of the Dillards entrance. The entrance on the other side of the mall where the food court is also blocked off, and even just to get inside from Germantown Parkway is totally blocked off. Traffic in that area may have some delays. This is a heavy police presence of a reported shooting We are working to learn exactly what is happening, but we will get that to you as soon as we can. We do know the roads are blocked off. Do not try to go shopping today. If you can, hold off on it. People inside the mall are being evacuated out if they didn't get out already. We're bringing you this live. We're still working to get more information and what we can confirm from police, but we have heard about reports of a shooting at the Wolfchase Mall. We will stick with this as long as we can while we get more information. You can see our crew there is right next to the Umaya Sushi and Seafood Grill restaurant. This is right across the parking lot from the Dillards that you see, those law enforcement presence there. We are hearing from police now. This is all coming in as we're following right this very minute. We're hearing that this was an isolated incident from police. We are getting a statement and working on that right now. They are saying that this is not an active shooter. I'm getting this information from our producers as I'm telling you right in real time, but this is an isolated incident, not an active shooter. The scene is now secured. That's what we're getting from law enforcement, that this was an isolated incident. This is not an active shooter situation, and the scene has now been secured. The mall is on lockdown. As you can see, the law enforcement is surrounding the entire building. We're showing you live from the Dillard's parking lot area. You can see FBI agents are on scene there, and state troopers, we've been seeing their cars as well. So this is a total team effort surrounding the Wolfchase Mall. Access to the mall is limited. You cannot get in. You cannot, it is on lockdown. If you're planning to shop today, try to hold off on those plans. The DEA is also there. So we're hearing reports of a shooter, but clearly the law enforcement now is confirming that it is not an active shooter. This is an isolated incident and that the scene is now secured. But the mall is not open to the public at this point. They're still holding off on normal operations until they can totally get it safe and secure. But the scene is secured. As you can see, state troopers are blocking off right outside of the Dillard's entrance. This is off of Germantown Parkway. We're getting more information as this is coming in real time. I'm telling you exactly how I'm learning it in this very moment. But we are coming at you live right now from the Wolfchase Galleria. This is the Dillard's parking lot. You see the law enforcement presence there. They are all the way out to the street as well, blocking people from coming in as they continue to investigate a shooting, a reported shooting inside the mall. We are hearing that it is an isolated incident, not an active shooter, and that the scene is now secured. We have no information yet on a suspect or any indicators of what that suspect looked like. But the police are obviously working on it. They have secured the entire building. There are about 5 entrances around Wolfchase. We're showing you just one because this is as close as our crew was allowed to get into and set up a shot for you. We're also hearing that on the other side, the food court side, which is the carousel entrance, is also blocked off. That is where law enforcement is present as well. If you are trying to go to the mall today or anywhere near the Wolfchase area, you probably can expect some traffic delays. They have officers all the way out to the entrance of the street, blocking off traffic from coming in. The mall was put on lockdown. People inside ran out. If not, they are being escorted out now. We saw some people coming out of the Dillard's entrance just a few moments ago, but now you see FBI agents are there, suited up, it looks like, as well. We've seen state trooper cars as well outside, and this is going to, and we know the DEA is also on scene. This happened just after 2 o'clock, so we are bringing this to you as soon as we could get crews out there. Not too long ago, there were reports of a shooter. Those were not confirmed, but now that police is out there, we are getting reports from the police that it is an isolated incident, not an active shooter, and the scene is now secure. It is blocked off from the street, Germantown Parkway. You cannot get into the mall if you are trying to get into there. If you know anybody trying to go, tell them to hold off and wait, because the mall is locked down right now. Police are still trying to work the investigation. Our reporter and our crew are out there. They're going to work on getting more information and see if the police will send a public information officer to come over to talk to us. But as of now, we have limited details. We are working to find out more as we're bringing this to you live. But we know that there was reports of a shooter at the Wolfchase Mall around 2 o'clock. Police presence came heavy shortly after that. I had a friend who was texting me, asking me if we were covering this. She said she heard gunshots inside the mall after she came out of the Primark store. She ran out. She is at home safe now. But she was texting me, asking me what we knew, and obviously it's limited information at this time. We do know that multiple agencies are out there. The FBI, the DEA, as well as state troopers are out there. This is in Cordova off of Germantown Parkway at the Wolfchase Mall. We're still working to learn exactly what happened, who law enforcement may be looking for, and what led up to the shooting. All we know right now is that there were reports of a shooting and that law enforcement say it's an isolated incident, no active shooter, and the scene has been secured. They have secured the entire proximity of Wolfchase Mall, all the way out to the street on Germantown Parkway. People cannot get in. That might be delaying traffic around that area. That is a high travel zone. Lots of retail and restaurants around there, even across the street as well. So anybody that you know may be traveling in that area, go ahead and give them a call. Tell them to try to look for another way. We are live from the scene. We have our reporter Ezekiel Telemaco on hand looking to get more information from law enforcement. We were able to get some preliminary information from them. They told us that it was not an active shooter, that it was an isolated incident, and that the scene is secured. But there's a lot of police presence there right now. Our camera crews can only get this close as they investigate exactly how this happened. There's no exact suspect information at this point, but they did say it was an isolated incident. And we are working to get more information. So we are going to continue to bring you this live. This is Wolfchase Galleria. We are working to get our reporter up and running there. He will be able to tell us a little bit more about what he's seeing on the scene. But we did hear reports of a shooting inside the mall. We are working to get a little bit more clarity on how that happened, who the person might be, who police may be able to who they're looking for. Excuse me, sorry, I'm getting information in my ear as I'm talking to you. But we did hear from law enforcement that it was an isolated incident, not an active shooter at this moment, and that the scene is secured. If you're coming into Germantown Parkway, you might notice that there is a huge police presence. They are blocking off any entrance into the Wolfchase Mall. You cannot get in if you are going that way, so go ahead and hold off on those shopping plans if you can for the rest of the evening as police are working this investigation. We do have a reporter on the scene that we are working to get to right now to tell us a little bit more about what he's seeing in the field. But as of right now, everything is blocked off around the Wolfchase Galleria. Here is a map exactly of where Wolfchase Galleria is. The Germantown Parkway side entrance to where Dillard's is where we're bringing you our report live. But any entrance into the Wolfchase right now is blocked off. Law enforcement is heavily there. They are keeping shoppers and travelers from going inside as they investigate more about reports of a shooting. They say that it is not an active shooter. This is an isolated incident, and that the scene is secured. So getting closer to a little bit more of where they might deem it to be a little more safe if they're saying that the scene is secured. But we are working to hopefully hear from a public information officer who can give us a little more details as to exactly what is causing the big law enforcement presence and who they might be looking for as in regards to the shooting. But we just know that all the roads into the mall are blocked off. Again, here is a map of the area. The North Germantown Parkway side is where we entered into the Dillard's parking lot and set up our cameras there. And that's as close as we could get. We were also hearing reports of a lot of activity on the food court side, the carousel side. Some scanner traffic reports from police may have indicated that there was some movement there. But I had a friend who was shopping just moments ago before this all started who heard 8 gunshots before she ran out. So we are working to get more information. We are going to now bring it live to our reporter, Ezekiel Telemaco, who is live at the mall or outside the mall. Ezekiel, what are you seeing there now? What can you tell us about the scene?
Well, just to get in here, it took me about 25 minutes. I went to every single entrance. There's 5 entrances, and every single one of them was blocked. And even when I showed my ID, they weren't letting anybody in. So I had to park across the street and then walk over here just to do this live shot right now. But I've seen DEA agents, I've seen FBI agents. There's so much police presence here as of right now. And if I'm gonna move out the way right here, you can zoom in and you can see some FBI agents over there in front of Dillard's. Now, we're still gathering more information right now. The only information that I have from the PIO agent is that this was an isolated incident and then the shooter was not an active shooter and the scene has been secured at the time. We're still waiting for further updates right now. So if you look right here, there's even employees looking around to figure out what is exactly going on here. There's a bunch of people just looking around as to, what exactly happened, and we're going to continue to work on those details for you right now at the mall. But as of right now, it's still secured and we're still trying to figure out what exactly took place here. But we'll make sure to tell you that once we have more information.
And Ezekiel, have you heard anything from those employees? Have you been able to talk to them? Anybody else coming out of the mall that you've seen since you've been there?
Well, the employees that I just talked to over there, they basically said that they didn't really see or hear anything, but they're in the parking lot kind of confused as to what is going on as well. So I think, you can see people crossing the street. I've seen multiple people crossing the street to try and figure out what is going on here. But like I said, if you look over there, they're allowing for people to leave the mall. They're just not letting anyone, come in, including me, which it makes sense, but we're still trying to gather more information as to what exactly happened. And, I'm going to work on trying to talk to more people that maybe have heard what's happened. So.
All right, we are hearing reports that there might be a news conference soon, so Ezekiel, will let you go ahead and get set up to figure out exactly more information on this. And in the meantime, as you can see, they're letting people leave. We're not exactly sure that particular incident where we just saw those 2 officers checking the trunk, but as you can see, they're probably vetting all people going out of the mall and just trying to collect as much information for the investigation as they can. We do know that, like Ezekiel said, they're not letting anybody in, but a lot of people are leaving. As you can imagine, people were inside the mall when this happened just after 2 o'clock. Shoppers are in there. It is Monday, maybe a slower shopping day, but at the same time, still employees in there trying to figure out what exactly happened in the middle of their workday. We do know that, like Ezekiel also said, that all he was able to get from the public information officer at this moment, that it was an isolated incident, that the shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene is secured. We are hearing that there will be a news conference soon, so we will be able to piece a little bit more of those details together. But everywhere around the mall is blocked off. There are 5 entrances. You cannot get in. Germantown Parkway is a heavy thoroughfare. Lots of traffic there. You can imagine that there are probably a little bit of delays coming in and out of North Germantown Parkway, or even to get off that exit from I-40 onto Germantown Parkway could be a little backed up. So if you know anybody in this area, if you know anybody that was planning to go to the mall today, anybody working at the mall, go ahead and give them a call. Just check on them, make sure everybody is taking the proper precautions and maybe staying away from the area as much as they can. The mall was put on lockdown at the time of the reports of a shooting. Around 2 o'clock, we heard the mall was put on lockdown. Police presence is out there. It's a team effort with the DEA, the FBI, state troopers. We saw also out there as well. We have seen a Facebook post from the town of Cordova that explains a woman's experience of being inside the mall and hearing those gunshots and running out. I had a text from a personal friend who was inside the mall and she heard gunshots and was able to run out. So people were able to run out as soon as it happened. My friend also told me that a lot of the stores started putting down their those grates that they used to close each individual store once she saw and heard and was running out herself. But we are working to get exactly the details on who this may have been, who's responsible, what that person would have looked like, what gun or how they got any any type of firearm inside the mall. Those are all the details that we will try to get from law enforcement once we get to that news conference that we heard was possibly happening soon. But this happened around 2 o'clock. We're talking about the Wolfchase Mall, probably one of the main malls here in Memphis, or the Memphis area, in Cordova, that is. And a large police presence ensued shortly after those reports around 2 o'clock. It's a team effort. We do know that the Memphis Safe Task Force is in town, the National Guard as well. We haven't seen exactly National Guard troops, but we've seen the FBI, the DEA, we've seen state troopers out there, all blocking off the 5 entrances and even the entrances out to the street. That Germantown Parkway entrance is one that is very heavily populated. A lot of people driving up and down on both sides of that street, with retail and restaurants around that entire area, as you can imagine, would possibly be backed up at this point. So do avoid that area if you can. Our crews are working to get set up at the area where the news conference will be. We imagine that might be where we were just live from, which is on the Dillard side. That Dillard's entrance, once you get into the mall from Germantown Parkway. They'll be able to tell us a little bit more of what they know and what led up to that. So here's a live look at the Dillard's parking lot, where we see 2 state trooper cars sitting outside of the entrance there. We've seen a little bit of some people coming in and out, what looked like could have been shoppers when we initially started this report. Ezekiel mentioned some employees waiting in the parking lot to figure out what exactly is happening. There's no word yet on if the mall will open back up, if the employees will go back to work. They're probably waiting around trying to figure out if that's going to happen for them as well. But we do know that it was an isolated incident. The shooter was not an active shooter, and that the scene is now secured. So hopefully law enforcement is getting closer to being able to say that is safe, or safe enough to at least go back into the mall. But that is not quite yet. We haven't confirmed that. It is secured at this moment, but not open. It is on lockdown. You cannot get in. They are probably vetting people even leaving, as we saw a couple of officers stopped a car and looked in the trunk. Not sure exactly what that particular incident was, but you can see they are at work trying to just see and vet and do their investigation as much as they can. All roads are blocked at this point on Germantown Parkway. I can only imagine that the I-40 exit to get to Germantown Parkway might be a little backed up as well, if not just Germantown Parkway in its own self. All 5 entrances of the mall are blocked off. We were hearing some activity on the food court side. This is as close as our crews could get to, which is on the Dillard side. But the carousel side, we also heard that there was a lot of activity there. But every entrance of the mall is closed off at this point. We're still working to learn exactly what happened and how there were reports of gunshots going off inside of the mall. We saw a Facebook post from the town of Cordova from a lady's account of what exactly happened while she was shopping with her family member inside, and she was able to get out of the building. That was one of our first tips off of what we saw, what was happening. We've heard some police scanner, but nothing exactly confirmed. We're still waiting to hear about a suspect, what a suspect might have looked like. But as you can imagine, it is the Wolfchase Galleria. There are a lot of cameras around there. There's SkyCop cameras, those blue boxes that sit on the light poles. And so hopefully law enforcement will be able to identify or have some more information once they are able to pull those cameras. And not to mention just the cameras inside the mall as well, and the cameras that are outside of the mall as people come in and out. It was put on lockdown, so customers, if they didn't make it out just by running out, hopefully they were safely escorted out. We haven't heard, we're still checking to see if there's been any injuries. We're checking to see if police have anybody in mind as far as a suspect or a shooter, but this was an isolated incident. The shooter is not an active shooter, and the scene is secured, but it is a heavy law enforcement presence. Not a lot of just regular cars in the parking lots now, just a few there. So people are making their ways out, but people are not able to come in. So any plans to shop this evening, if you know anybody that was planning to go to the mall, tell them to hold off, because the scene is very active with law enforcement. The mall is closed at this moment. No word on when it will be back open or if it will even be back open for the rest of the evening. So we're still monitoring all of this. It is a live scene. We're working to get that information for you. We have a crew out there. Our reporter Ezekiel Telemaco was just in the Dillard's parking lot. He saw employees waiting to kind of figure out exactly what's happening as well. And as you can imagine, working in the mall, no telling who heard what, and then just having to leave your place of work. It's all just fluid and very scary in that sense as well. Shoppers were there. Mondays are typically probably a lighter shopping day, not super busy in the mall, but still people there. Some people have Mondays off and get their shopping done there. So I had a friend who was doing some shopping as well, and she texted me saying she heard the gunshots and ran out. She is now safely at home, but you can only imagine how many other people might have had that same account as well. We are hearing that Ezekiel, our reporter, was able to say the DEA was there, the FBI is there, and we see state troopers there as well. So a collective effort. We know the Memphis Safe Task Force is in town, which is a huge collaborative effort between many different law enforcement agencies, and it comes into play when you see all of these agencies out there in full force as well. They're blocked all the way out to the street, to Germantown Parkway. That's the side that we are on, that entrance coming into Dillard's, and where the J. Alexander's restaurant is, and the Umaya seafood sushi spot as well. So that you cannot get in. People are leaving, but they're not letting people into the mall. As you can imagine, they're doing their full investigation. Hopefully they're looking at camera footage. They're trying to get as many clues as they can to understand who and why and how this all happened. We've seen state troopers out there. They're securing all 5 entrances, as well as the entrances into the mall from the main streets like Germantown Parkway. If you know this area well, you know it is highly trafficked, just a lot of traffic in this area. So you can probably expect delays if you're going to take this route, or if you're already out there now. There's probably a heavy bit of traffic on North Germantown Parkway, as well as possibly that exit coming off of I-40. There's a lot of retail in that area, even across the street as well. And the Wolfchase Galleria is one of the if not the biggest mall here in the Memphis area. This is in Cordova, of course. We heard reports about a shooting just after 2 o'clock, and police presence shortly followed after that. As we started hearing the police scanner ramping up, our reporter got out there as fast as he could and is on the scene, trying to gather as much information as we can. Very limited information, as this is happening in real time, as I'm bringing you everything I know as well. We are on the Dillard side, but we also heard a lot of activity on the food court side, particularly that carousel entrance. If you are familiar with the Wolfchase Mall, you would know and be able to picture the food court side where big carousel is. Also on the back side of what you're looking at now has a lot of law enforcement presence there as well. So we are still working, of course. Avoid the area to give you more information, but avoid the area as much as you can. If you had shopping plans this evening, hold off. Law enforcement is in full force out there trying to figure out exactly the nature of what happened here. There is a reported shooting inside of the Wolfchase Galleria Mall, and all we have right now are limited details that it was an isolated incident. The shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene is secured. We are hearing that there's a news conference soon. So news conferences usually happen when a public information officer from one of the agencies comes out and explains what they have been able to gather so far. So hopefully they'll be able to tell us exactly what ensued, who they might be looking for, even sometimes what gun or what firearm was used, and if anybody was hurt. We have not had any confirmations on exact injuries, but we, of course, hope no one was hurt in this instance. But we are working to learn that information, if anybody was, in fact, hurt, how many employees or how many people might have been at the mall at this time, where exactly the shooting took place, what kind of stores was the shooting around. That usually gives people an idea of exactly kind of where, if you're familiar with the Wolfchase Galleria. So we have our live shot right in front of the Dillard's parking lot. That was the closest that law enforcement would allow us to get to but they have blocked off every single entrance. There are 5 entrances into the Wolfchase Galleria, and all of them are now blocked off. Our Ezekiel Telemaco had some trouble even getting in there himself. So you can imagine, just do not go near the area. Avoid it if you can. Lots of law enforcement presence as this investigation continues. We know the Memphis Safe Task Force is in town. We saw the DEA, we saw FBI, we saw state troopers out there. From what we could see, there's probably more agencies that are assisting as well. We don't have a lot of information at this time, but we are still working to get to that news conference where a public information officer will be able to tell us a little bit more. So we do know that there are 5 entrances into the Wolfchase Mall. They are all blocked off. Hold off on your shopping if you were planning on doing anything today. Mondays are usually a slow day for shopping, but there are still people inside, people who have to report to work every day at the mall. So we are working to see just exactly how they were evacuated and how many people were in there who had to run or safely find a place until they could leave. It is a very scary situation, as you can imagine. I mean, this is the Wolfchase Galleria, a shooting in there. Most of us might be familiar with the Wolfchase, been in there a few times. If you are familiar with Memphis or you're from Memphis, you most definitely probably have been in the Wolfchase Galleria. It was on lockdown shortly after the shots fired around 2 o'clock. We heard reports that the mall was on lockdown, and then this heavy police presence surrounding the mall. Multiple agencies. This is a look from Germantown Parkway. As you can see, they have blocked off that entrance, and this is the entrance into Dillard's, where we have been set up for the most of this coverage. Our Ezekiel Telemaco is on the scene. He is posted standby for the news conference that we are waiting to hear more information from. He was able to see some employees in the parking lot who made it out and are just waiting, just like the rest of us, to know exactly what happened and if they need to go back to work. There is no word on if the mall will reopen tonight or if it will stay closed. But they have secured the scene. So if that is at least somewhat good news as far as law enforcement securing the scene and possibly getting closer to deeming it safe at the moment. But there is no information about whether they have anyone in custody or an idea of who the shooter might be, what they look like, how they were, what firearm they were carrying, how they got in the mall, why they were there. There's no information on that at this moment. That is what we're waiting for the public information officer to hopefully tell us. But this all ensued starting around 2 p.m. today. And what would kind of probably be a slow shopping day, but not for anybody that happened to be in there. I had a friend who was texting me about it who was in there. She had just come out of the Primark. She heard gunshots and ran out. She was able to get home safely, but obviously very shook. She said the woman behind her on the escalator just started bum rushing her from behind, and that's when the chaos kind of happened with the people she was around and was able to exit and get to her car safely. So people did leave as soon as they heard the reported gunshots, but there were employees who were still inside their stores, and so you can imagine that the officers had to get inside and safely evacuate everybody and just secure the area. We did see 2 officers stop a car who was on the way out. That might be them trying to vet just every single person leaving. We don't know that exact incident of what they needed to check the car for, but as you can imagine, they're just double checking everything, trying to gather as much as they can on this investigation. It's a team effort here. There's the DEA, the FBI, and state troopers are all out there. So this all started probably around 2 o'clock. This is when we started getting tipped off that there were shots fired inside the Wolfchase Mall. Then a police presence formed, and we got word about the police presence happening all around the Wolfchase Mall. So we decided to send our reporters, obviously, and we got there, and that was exactly right. So that's shortly after 2 o'clock, the heavy police presence securing the entire mall. The mall went on lockdown. This is right off of North Germantown Parkway in Cordova, the Wolfchase Galleria. And within the last hour and a half, this is what we've been covering, limited details. We got a statement in from law enforcement that said it was an isolated incident. The shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene is secured. There is a news conference soon where we were hoping to get more information, but you can see state troopers out there, FBI agents, the DEA, Homeland Security. All roads are blocked off around the Wolfchase Mall. Germantown Parkway is blocked off. Our reporter and our photographer had a hard time getting into the mall area. We were able to set up around the Dillard's parking lot. We also heard that there was quite a bit of an active scene around the food court side, which is on the opposite side of the Dillard's area. We will bring you more information once we get our reporter all up, once he's able to gather more details and that news conference is set up. We will take you there live right away as soon as we see that happening. But right now we are sticking and staying on this coverage, staying on top of exactly any new update that we get in. Around 2 o'clock, we started hearing that there were shots inside of the Wolfchase Galleria Mall. The town of Cordova had a Facebook post from a woman's account who was shopping with her family member inside, and she was able to get out of the Wolfchase Galleria. And my friend also texted me shortly after 2 o'clock, who was shopping at Primark, and she said she heard gunshots going up the escalator after she left the Primark store and was able to bolt out, get into her car, and she is now home. But we are still working to figure out exactly if there's a suspect, if law enforcement has a shooter in custody, what the shooter looked like. We're hoping to get those details from the news conference that we're waiting on any minute now. What the shooter's motive may have been, that all kind of comes, the motive may take a little bit longer to come, but you can imagine they're probably looking at video cameras. There are cameras all in that parking lot. There's those SkyCop cameras that are on light poles that have the blue flashing light and the white boxes. Those can come in handy in situations like this where someone would have had to leave the mall that's not even including the cameras that are inside the mall, the ones right at the entrances. So they're checking probably all of those just to identify someone who is responsible for this. But it is an isolated incident. The law enforcement was able to tell us in a statement that the shooter is not an active shooter and that the scene is now secured. They have staking out every entrance to the mall. There's 5 entrances in the mall. That North Germantown Parkway area is the highly heavy traffic along Germantown Parkway. There are retail and restaurants and just stores that you can name on both sides from the Wolfchase Galleria and across the street. So heavy presence of law enforcement right now are blocking off every way that you could probably get into the Wolfchase Galleria. So do not go shopping today if you can help it. I would avoid the area entirely if you can. Anybody that you know that might be working at the Wolfchase Galleria or anybody that was planning to do a quick errand, go ahead and check in on them. This happened just after 2 o'clock when we heard shots at the Wolfchase Galleria Mall. Heavy police presence shortly showed up after that, and we are still working to figure out what they know. The mall is on lockdown. People are leaving, but they are not allowed to go in. Here's a little bit of a look from Germantown Parkway at that entrance right next to the J. Alexander's and that Starbucks as well. Our crew is camped out near that Umaya or the Starbucks restaurant, the Umaya seafood sushi restaurant and that Starbucks. That was as close as that they could get. That's why we're bringing you these shots from Dillard's, because this is as close as we could get. But the Dillard's side is still secured. We heard a lot of activity on the carousel entrance side, which leads to the food court. That had a lot of activity as well. But all we have from a statement from law enforcement right now is it's an isolated incident. The shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene is secured. The mall was obviously operating. Employees were in there. Mondays are normally a slow shopping day, but there were still people inside shopping, as you can imagine. And so very scary situation for anybody that happened to be at the Wolfchase Galleria today. But this is an isolated incident. Police still have not named exactly who they have in mind. Those are the information that's the information we would hopefully get in the news conference, what the suspect looked like, maybe even why they decided to do this. Motives usually take a little bit longer to figure out, but they're probably checking cameras to at least get an ID of the person. We still have not heard exactly who, what they looked like, and if they even have anyone in custody. So those are all the information that we would be asking at this news conference, or hopefully they'll be able to give us once they're all set up. That's where our Ezekiel Telemaco is waiting and on standby to get a public information officer, more information from a public information officer. But this, of course, happened around 2 o'clock is when we heard shots, reportedly shots inside the Wolfchase Galleria, and then a heavy police presence after the fact. I keep mentioning I had a friend who was shopping. She got in her car and was able to get home, and on her way home, she saw all of the law enforcement agencies, the cars flying by on the highway. So immediate response shortly after 2. They've blocked off every single way that you can get into the Wolfchase Galleria. There is no way you can get in right now, and it's not totally clear exactly if the mall will even reopen tonight. But as of right now, for the last hour, just under 2 hours now, the mall has been on lockdown. There were people inside the mall, but some were able to get out. We're still getting we want to hopefully get some more information on exactly how many people or if everybody was able to get out safely. Another thing here is we have not heard about injuries yet. We have not gotten a confirmation on injuries specifically. That's going to be a big point here. Was anybody hurt in this incident? And we hope not, but we will definitely have asked that question if they don't have that information readily, but hopefully they will. So we have not confirmed if anyone was injured, but we do know that it was an isolated incident. That's what they've been able to tell us so far. The shooter is not an active shooter, and the scene is secured. But they have not confirmed if a suspect is in custody at the moment. There is a news conference coming soon, and we're hearing that maybe it'll be around 4:15. So we're going to keep you updated as much as we can, but at 4:15, we are hearing that that is when the public information officer will be able to give a press conference. That is the estimated time as of now, 4:15. So in about 25 minutes, we're hoping to hear from a public information officer on exactly what led to this. And hopefully they can tell us a little bit more about a person of interest, or if they have anybody in custody, or have camera identification, or any information that can help just piece the puzzle a little more together about why this happened, and hopefully let the public know that it would be safe to go to the mall again. They did say it was the scene was secured and that this was an isolated incident and that the shooter is not an active shooter. But we're still trying to figure out exactly where in the mall that this happened. When you go to the Wolfchase Galleria, if you're familiar with the Wolfchase Galleria, knowing exactly maybe what stores that the shots fired outside of can kind of give you a little bit more of a picture of exactly what happened. Or if you know anybody that was working at some of these stores, you would want to check in on them to make sure that they are okay. So we heard that this happened right after 2 o'clock. Shots fired inside the Wolfchase Galleria, and then a large police presence ensued after that to the Wolfchase Mall. This is in Cordova. We sent our reporters out there who could only get close enough to that Dillard's parking lot, which is that entrance right off of Germantown Parkway. The police totally secured and just stopped all access into the mall, but they were letting people leave because, as you can imagine, employees, shoppers, security guards, anybody inside the mall today, malls are big operations, so there's quite a lot of people that had to be escorted out if they were not able to get out once the shots were fired. We did see on Facebook at the town of Cordova's Facebook page of an account from a woman who happened to be shopping there today, and she wrote on the town of Cordova's Facebook page that she was shopping with family members and that they heard gunshots immediately, and then after getting off of an elevator, and then that the mall went on complete lockdown. This is from the town of Cordova's Facebook page, unconfirmed from police exactly, but a woman was able to give her account on that Facebook page around an hour or more than an hour now ago. And then, so the roads are all blocked off now since then. There's 5 entrances into the Wolfchase Galleria. All of them are blocked off. You cannot get in. We are live, or we went live from the Dillard's parking lot. That was as close as we could get. to the scene to show you the agencies that were outside there. We saw state troopers. Our reporter reported seeing DEA, FBI, and state troopers as well. We know MPD is assisting as well. Right here is an incident where we saw officers looking in the trunk of a car. We don't know the nature or exactly the details of that particular stop, but you can maybe imagine that they're just trying to vet every single person that's leaving so that they can piece together as much as they can about why this happened. We are still working to figure out if there are any injuries. We have people who have told us, or my friend said she heard gunshots inside, but we have not heard any particular injuries quite yet. We are waiting to get that confirmed. Hopefully no one was hurt, but in the press conference that is slated for 4:15, we hope that police can give us an update on any injuries and if a person is in custody. But they have blocked off all the entrances. Germantown Parkway is a busy parkway, busy street. I mean, there is retail on both sides, restaurants, stores, fast food, anything you can think of in this area. It's a heavily trafficked area. It is blocked off to get into the Wolfchase Galleria. If you know anybody that works in this area or anybody that takes this route home or might be in the next couple of hours, just there probably are going to be some traffic delays as law enforcement continues working on this investigation. But they did say that the scene is secured. So that might give a little indication that it's moving towards safety, at least for the mall to operate again. But we have not confirmed whether the mall will remain closed tonight. We have not heard whether it will, if employees will in fact go back in and finish up their shift. We saw our reporter Ezekiel Telemaco actually had some employees that were standing next to him in the parking lot of the Dillards, trying to figure out the same things we're trying to figure out, just what happened, who did this, why, and if they need to go back to work at all. But as of right now, those are all the information. This is limited information. It is breaking. We know it's not an active shooter. It was an isolated incident is what Memphis is telling us. Memphis police is telling us. So we are continuing to work on this as we bring you these updates live. I'm getting them in real time, trying to articulate them to you. But we know that the mall is on lockdown. So no one can get in. They are letting people leave. You could see in the parking lot, it's pretty empty. There's a couple of cars there. Those are probably people who, if they weren't shoppers, they were employees trying to leave safely as law enforcement agencies are surrounding the area. State troopers, DEA, FBI, all are on hand to help this investigation. And we are still working on just figuring out more of this information. So lots of just developing information here. It is breaking news right now. We're getting information in as we bring it to you. There's a large police presence at Wolfchase Mall. We are working to learn exactly what happened and why law enforcement is surrounding the building. We know there was a reported shooting around 2 o'clock. And then shortly after, law enforcement showed up to the scene, surrounded the entire mall, and cut off any access inside from the main roads. So Germantown Parkway, you cannot get into the mall. That exit off of I-40 is probably going to be a little backed up from it. We are still just learning and waiting to hear if the mall will be reopened at this evening, and we are also just waiting to hear about injuries, possible injuries, and if they have anyone in custody. Our Ezekiel Telemaco was out there. He was able to get as close as he could, but it was in the Dillards parking lot where he was stopped. They're not, of course, as you can imagine, they're not letting anybody, not even reporters or media, into the mall. It is completely locked down. Hopefully everybody inside the mall was evacuated safely if they weren't able to get out themselves. So we're still working to learn more information, and we are going to bring that to you as soon as we can. We heard that there's a news conference happening at 4:15. So we're setting up our reporter there to hopefully get more information from a public information officer who can tell us more about what time they got the call, what the call came in as, if anyone was hurt, if they have a person in custody, if they're looking for someone, if they're able to tell us what that person looks like, how many people were in the mall, where exactly the shooting may have occurred, what stores around where this happened. A lot of people can visualize. If you've been inside the Wolfchase Mall, you know what stores are there. If they're able to tell us around what area of the mall this happened, then you may know somebody who was working at that store that you want to check on, or anybody who was shopping at those stores that you may want to check on as well. So avoid the area of Wolfchase Galleria and the Germantown Parkway and just any place around there. There's heavy police presence. You do not want to go there if you can help it. But at 4:15, we are hopefully going to get more information. So we are working on our reporter getting set up where the public information officer will be. But as of now, the Wolfchase Galleria is off limits. It is locked down. There's heavy police presence, multiple agencies out there, the DEA, the FBI, state troopers. It is just totally locked down with law enforcement presence all around. They are trying to figure out what happened and why a shooting was reported inside. I had a friend who texted me about it who was inside. She was able to make it out. She's safe at home now, obviously shook up, but as you can imagine, employees are inside. Lots of people operate a mall. This is one of Memphis's most popular malls, one of the last ones really standing too. So it's in Cordova, of course, but Mondays can be a slow shopping day, but for people who may have the day off, might get some errands done. So you can imagine there's always a good amount of people inside of a mall. It is a popular place to go. So we're still working to figure out exactly how this happened, who may be responsible, and what all ensued inside around the 2 o'clock hour for this to happen. But they were able to tell us in a statement, the law enforcement, excuse me, was able to say it was an isolated incident. The shooter is not an active shooter, and the scene is secured. Roads surrounding Wolfchase are blocked. You cannot get in. They are letting people out, but those are probably the people who were already in the mall, who are now safely trying to get away from the situation. We don't have information if the mall is going to reopen tonight, and you can imagine, but as of right now, it's been closed now for about 2 hours. So they are still trying to work through the entire scene. They said the scene has been secured, but they have blocked off all 5 entrances, including the entrances that lead out to the street. Our reporter was set up in that Starbucks right across the way from J. Alexander, that entrance that leads right to the Dillard's parking lot. That's where you're looking right now. That is totally blocked off, as this person is now making their way out, like so many other people who were caught up in this chaos. Now, all the roads are blocked. There's retail and lots of restaurants on the other side of the street too. So anybody that you know that might be in this area, that might be working in this area today, traffic is probably delayed as law enforcement work through this investigation. So at 2 o'clock, we got the report that there were shots fired inside the Wolfchase Mall. The police presence picked up heavily at the Wolfchase Galleria shortly after that. Then we got on scene and on hand as well. We were able to get to the Dillard's parking lot. We weren't able to get much closer. And so we are just still working to find out more details as the news conference at 4:15 gets set up. We have our reporter Ezekiel Telemaco there, and we are waiting to see exactly what they may be able to tell us from a public information officer. As we're getting information in as much as we, right now in real time, as I'm bringing it to you, I'm learning just as much as I'm trying to articulate it out to you. But in Cordova, the Wolfchase Galleria, shots were reportedly fired inside, and that was around 2 o'clock, and then a heavy police presence followed shortly after. We were stationed around the Dillard's area entrance, and we can see officers right outside here. We saw the DEA, FBI, state troopers, Homeland Security's out there. We do know that the Memphis Safe Task Force is in town, and this is clearly coming into play for this investigation, having all of these agencies on hand working already in Memphis area and are now able to respond in this big, massive effort to a shooting or reported shooting inside the Wolfchase Mall. So we got a statement from Memphis police around 2:30 that said it was an isolated incident, the shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene is secured. The mall is on lockdown. Nobody's able to get in. They are letting people who are already there out, probably vetting each car just to be sure that get as much information as they can from them, or just if they have anything that can lead them more to a suspect. We don't have a suspect, or we have not confirmed, or there has not been a reported suspect yet from law enforcement. That is information that we hope to get at the news conference at 4:15. But they're probably vetting all the cameras in that area. The Wolfchase Galleria has cameras in the parking lot. They have cameras at entrances. They have cameras inside the mall. You would hope that possibly those come into hand here and would be able to give a visual of who this person might be, as police and all these law enforcement agencies are working to figure out who, but they have not reported to us quite yet that they have anybody in custody or that they have an identification on who they might be looking for. We are working to find out if there are any injuries. My personal friend who happened to be in the mall mentioned that she heard 8 gunshots before she ran out. And she was able to get in her car, go home safely, but as she was going home, she saw all the law enforcement agencies, their cars flying by on the highway. And we are still just hoping no one was hurt. We have not gotten confirmation on whether there were injuries or not. So at 4:15, that's the type of information that we'll be looking for: where the shooting took place, why it happened, how it happened, who the suspect might be, if they have anybody in custody, and maybe even down to what firearm they were using, and of course, if anyone was hurt. So we are going to work on getting that information to you. Hopefully at 4:15 is what we are being told by law enforcement that they will be set up then. But we do have a reporter on the scene. We hope to get a live report. We will get a live report from him as soon as the news conference gets underway. And he can paint the picture a little bit more for us as we learn more information. But we do know it's a collaborative effort with law enforcement right now. We've seen state troopers. They are the ones really blocking off the streets all the way out to the entrance on Germantown Parkway, as we can see here. But right now, they're also in front of the Dillards. But we've seen Homeland Security, we've seen FBI agents, we've seen the DEA, and we are just working to find out exactly what they may know. We saw a couple of people walking out of Dillard's when we initially got set up just after 2 o'clock that looked possibly like shoppers, but they were walking out as people were making their way to their cars now that the mall is on lockdown. But people and employees, you know, it's a big operation for a mall day to day, even if it is a slow shopping day. Mondays are typically slow, but, you know, still a lot of people are inside of a mall. You're talking about employees in the stores, the people that work in the kiosks in the middle of the malls, and then the food court employees, and then just the shoppers who come themselves, and then any maintenance employees, and anybody who might be doing third-party security. Just all of the entities that make a mall happen were all impacted for this incident today. So quite a lot of people affected at the Wolfchase Galleria. And if you were planning on possibly stopping by the Wolfchase Galleria when you get off work, you might want to hold off on those plans tonight. It's unclear if the mall will even be reopened after this incident. And employees were sitting in the parking lot with our reporter Ezekiel Telemaco trying to figure out if they needed to report back to their shift after the fact. We do know that law enforcement secured the scene, which might indicate that they're moving closer to possibly deeming the mall at least safe, but secured does not confirm exactly that it will be open again. So they've secured the scene. They say it was an isolated incident and that the shooter is not an active shooter. We're still waiting to hear more if they even have a person in custody, if they have an idea of what this person looked like. Lots to consider here. There's cameras all around the Galleria. There's been incidents at the Galleria in the last few years that prompted more camera usage, especially in the parking lots areas when there were reports of car break-ins and whatnot. So if you go to the Wolfchase Galleria, you would probably notice up on the light poles there are quite a few what we call sky cop cameras that catch video from the parking lot. But there's also cameras inside the malls, right outside the mall entrances. So hopefully they're able to scope or get into the video and possibly find who may be responsible for the investigation. So that we're still working on figuring that out. We're working on finding out if there's any injuries, how many people were in the mall at the time, how many employees are at the Wolfchase Mall who might have been affected. There's a lot here. We do know that all the roads are blocked off. There's no way of getting inside the Wolfchase Mall, so do not even think about it. If you can hold off on your shopping, please do. But check in on anybody that you might know was making their way to the Wolfchase Mall or was in the mall at this time, whether they work there. That whole Germantown Parkway area across the street as well is probably impacted by traffic. We saw that the state troopers were blocking off the road all the way from the street into the Wolfchase area, particularly in that entrance from the Starbucks and that J. Alexander's restaurant. That was totally blocked off. Our reporters had trouble getting in as well. So they had to park in one place and even walk to get to an area where we could even show you in front of the Dillards. So it is very jam-packed, secured there. Law enforcement is everywhere, securing all 5 entrances of the Wolfchase Galleria. Do not go here. If you can avoid the area entirely, do so. We are coming up on 4:08 right now. We are hoping that news conference will happen at 4:15. That's what they told us was an estimated time. The Memphis Police Department and the law enforcement agencies are working to set up a news conference at 4:15 that will hopefully give us more information as to what we are looking for here. That will hopefully put the public a little more at ease on if they have anybody in mind of who might be responsible for this. But we have not heard about any injuries or confirmed them either. I had a friend inside who happened to be shopping today. She texted me asking if we were going to be covering this. She heard gunshots after coming out of the Primark store and ran to her car. She is safe at home now, but you can imagine that was quite the experience for other people inside the mall, not just shoppers, but employees as well. But a quick response from law enforcement shortly after the shots fired reports, heavy police presence ensued not long after we got word. So the DEA is out there, the FBI is out there, state troopers are out there, MPD is out there, and now we are getting information from Memphis Police that the news conference at 4:15 is delayed. So we are waiting to hear an update on exactly when they plan to send a public information officer to give us more information. It was originally for 4:15. We are hearing that it is delayed now, but we do have a live presence out there. Obviously, we were bringing you a live look. We have a reporter, and we're going to work to get you more information as we can. And as we know right now, this is going on about just over 2 hours of staking out this scene here at the Wolfchase Galleria in Cordova. And we have a reporter out there working the scene, and will be able to bring us a little more details on exactly what he's hearing and seeing out there that we may not be able to totally tell from here. But we do know at 2 o'clock there were reports of shots fired inside the Wolfchase Galleria. Then there was a heavy police presence that happened shortly after. We got a crew out there, and then around 2:30 we got a statement in from law enforcement saying that it was an isolated incident, shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene was secured. We know employees were working to see if there was some sort of evacuation process, but there must have had to have been if people couldn't run out. I'm sure agents with these law enforcement agencies went inside to make sure everybody could get out safely. There's no telling what happened in those moments. You can only imagine if you happen to be shopping today and you suddenly heard gunshots inside of a mall. That is terrifying. And so you're either ducking for cover or running out to the closest place that you can run out to. So hopefully those employees, those shoppers, anybody involved with the mall today are okay. We haven't heard any confirmed reports of injuries, but that is something that we're hoping to get confirmed when we're able to get to that news conference. But we are still working to see when they're going to bring a public information officer in to tell us more information. We have no confirmed reports of a suspect or anyone in custody at the moment. We are working to get that information, and hopefully they can bring it to us when they decide to have that news conference. And as you can imagine, the mall has a lot of cameras. I can't emphasize this enough. There's been incidents at the Wolfchase Galleria over the years that have prompted more camera usage for surveillance. And there are some in the parking lot as well as inside the mall and at entrances to go in and out of. So you can only imagine that officers and agents are looking at this footage, hopefully, to get some sort of identification on who this might have been, but we don't have any confirmed information on a person of interest quite yet. We do know that the mall went on lockdown, and you cannot go into the mall if you tried right now. So do not try, avoid the area entirely if you can. If you know anybody that has to come home from work, it's about 4:15 right now. 5 o'clock is going to hit soon. There's no telling if the scene here will be cleared by then, but if they take Germantown Parkway or if they plan to get off of the exit off of I-40 or Highway 64 at all, just go ahead and caution them that there may be some traffic delays. This is a huge police presence happening right now at the Wolfchase Galleria, and they have blocked off every single way that you can get into the Wolfchase Galleria. And if you are familiar with this area, you know that North Germantown Parkway is a very busy thoroughfare. So do not take that way if you can avoid it. And there's retail and restaurants on the other side as well. So it's probably backed up around there. And this is why there is a scene at the Wolfchase Galleria involving a shooting. And we're working to learn exactly the details of what caused or what led up to the shooting, who did it, if anyone was hurt. But all we know right now is that there is a heavy police presence, and they are not letting anybody in, and they're working to probably vet everybody that is headed out. There's no information if the mall will even reopen today. It's not sure if employees were sent home for the rest of their shift. We saw our Ezekiel Telemaco was out there in the parking lot and had seen some employees who were on the phone just kind of waiting outside, probably wondering the same things we are, like, do they have to go back in for the rest of their shift? Are they good to go home? Do anybody they know that works in the mall, is everybody okay? Did everybody make it out safely? What caused this? What happened? And most importantly, what can be done maybe in the future to make sure that this doesn't happen again? But as you can see, law enforcement backed up all the way to the main streets. You cannot get into the Germantown Parkway, or you cannot get into the Wolfchase Galleria from Germantown Parkway or any access point at all. It is totally blocked off. Do not go if you can. Avoid it. So here we are now at 4:15. This is when the news conference was supposed to happen. This is what they told us. They were going to bring a public information officer, but they have to delay it. As you can imagine, it's a fluid situation. Lots of information is coming in. They're trying to figure out exactly the best way to articulate what has happened here to the public and to the media. And so they're working to figure out what exactly they know and what they still don't know, what they can answer, what they can't answer. And we're standing by to make sure that we ask those questions so we can make sure that the public feels a little safer tonight. We're not sure if the mall will reopen. We know it's on lockdown. It's been on lockdown now, going on 2 hours, a little bit more than 2 hours. And we are live from the scene. We do have a live crew out there working. This is some video that we took within the last hour, and we saw officers were vetting this car. We're not sure exactly the nature of this particular incident, but we can see that they're doing their work to try to gather as much information as they can to piece together exactly what happened here. And So we are still just working to see exactly when we can bring you more of a live update. Our Ezekiel Telemaco is talking with law enforcement on the scene right now as to where they will be setting up that press conference to make sure that we are in the right place at the right time to bring you the information as soon as we get it. But we know all the roads are blocked. So if you know anybody in the Wolfchase that works at the Wolfchase Galleria or is in that area, even across the street from Germantown Parkway, there's going to be traffic delays. There's a lot of police in there. They do say that they did tell us that the scene is secured and that it was an isolated incident and that the shooter is not an active shooter. So it sounds like they're getting a little bit more of a handle on the just the fluid nature of this live scene. But of course, they're doing their due diligence to make sure that everybody is safe and that the premise is safe enough to open it back up. So that's going to take some time, but it is secured at this moment. That's all they've told us. That was the information that came in around 2:30 after the reports of shots fired at the Galleria Mall around 2. We do know that there are multiple agencies here. We're talking about the DEA, the FBI, state troopers, MPDs out there. This is in Cordova as well. Lots of collaborative efforts from law enforcement here. We know the Memphis Safe Task Force is in town, and that comes into play when you have situations like this. You can see multiple agencies able to respond to this active situation. They were able to tell us that it is an isolated incident, shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene is secured. Obviously, there were employees in there. It's a Monday, first day of the week, work week, and what would normally be possibly a slow shopping day turned out to be chaotic for anybody inside the mall that thought maybe I'll get some shopping done on a slow Monday where there's not a lot of people and I don't have to wait in lines or I can go in and go out. Hopefully, if you know anybody that was planning to do that, they got home safely or they're now outside the mall or away from this area. We don't know anything about injuries yet. That is the biggest thing here that we are going to try to work out or hopefully get from law enforcement. We have not had any confirmation on injuries, and we hopefully know, or hopefully that there are none, but we don't know if there's any injuries, and we don't know if they have a person in custody yet. We were waiting for that information. That was supposed to happen at 4:15, but now we are being told that conference has now been delayed. Our Ezekiel Telemaco is out there talking to law enforcement right now, troopers, and he says that they're kind of working to see if they're going to let them in to the mall or not. So that we're getting more information here as I'm getting it in. I'm bringing it to you. Sounds like he's working on trying to get into the mall, or maybe that's possibly where the police will set up their news conference, but he is currently working on being escorted in, and we will bring you that live coverage from him as soon as he gets set up. But a lot here, it's fluid. We know the mall was put on lockdown. Nobody is allowed in. People that were in the mall are being let out, but it is a slow process. Of course, law enforcement has to just secure the area and make sure they're crossing their T's and dotting their I's to make sure that they can piece together every single piece of information that they can to find out why this happened. So taking it back now to what we do know, around 2 o'clock this afternoon, we got reports that shots fired inside the Wolfchase Galleria Mall in Cordova. Heavy police presence followed shortly after that. We were on the scene and setting up our crew outside of the Dillard's parking lot. All of the entrances into the Wolfchase Galleria are blocked off. And you know that's a busy area around Germantown Parkway. You cannot get into the mall at this time. There are 5 entrances into the Galleria Mall, the Wolfchase Galleria Mall, and all of them are blocked off at this point. We did hear a bit of activity on the food court side where the carousel is. If you are familiar with the Wolfchase Galleria, that's on the other side of this Dillard's parking lot. This is where our crews were able to get to. But the entire proximity of the mall is blocked off. We have multiple agencies at work here: the DEA, the FBI, and state troopers. Around 2:30, we did get a statement in from law enforcement saying that it was an isolated incident, the shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene is secured. We did not get any confirmations on injuries or if someone is in custody or if they're looking for somebody. So we do know that there's a lot of cameras around the Wolfchase Galleria. That's probably something that's playing a huge part right now into their investigation. They're looking at the timestamps and trying to piece together who and when they came in, who this person was. All information that is very fluid right now that hopefully cameras will be a useful tool to give more of that information. So we know all the roads are blocked off. Do not try to go into the mall. Hold off on that Monday afternoon shopping for the night. We don't know if the mall will reopen this evening. Employees were standing in the parking lot trying to figure out as much information as they could on the phone with people, as we saw from our reporter Ezekiel Telemaco. As you can imagine, the mall is a pretty big operation here. You've got employees, you've got food court staff, you've got maintenance staff, cleaning staff, shoppers, people who work in the kiosks in the middle of the mall. There's just a lot of people, even on any given day, even if it's a slow shopping day. And so this has a large impact to a very popular area of Memphis and Memphis area, and one of the most popular, if not the only, one of the biggest malls left in the area. So impacting a lot of people here. And a scary moment for a lot of people as well. And as we continue to stay on top of it, I'm bringing you information as soon as I am getting it as well. There's not a lot here, so we're still working with it as much as we can. We were told that there was supposed to be a news conference at 4:15, but they delayed it, and we are waiting now to get that new time. That's where our Ezekiel Telemaco is working right now with law enforcement to set up wherever they are allowing us to get information from a public information officer. So we are working on that for you. We know there's multiple agencies. It's a huge, massive effort right now, just scouring all of the Wolfchase Galleria. And we know that there's a huge backup on Germantown Parkway. There's going to be traffic delays if you know anybody in this area or if you plan to take it yourself. People are going to be off of work for the most part at 5 o'clock. That's coming up in 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and or about 30 minutes. And so go ahead and take another way if you can. Tell somebody to take another way if they can. Just avoid the area as much as you can. This is going on now about 2.5 hours of a crime scene here of multiple agencies trying to work an investigation on what happened and what caused a shooting at the Wolfchase Galleria, a popular shopping mall for all of the Mid-South, particularly the Memphis area. This is in Cordova. We've seen officers doing things like this where they're just stopping people who happen to be in the mall trying to make their way out, trying to vet everything that they can. And we are still working to see when we're going to learn more information about whether they have somebody in custody or if there was any injuries. We know the Wolfchase Galleria has a lot of cameras around the property. There's been quite a few incidents in the last few years just of car thefts and various crimes that have really ramped up the usage of cameras in the Wolfchase Galleria to help in situations like this, to where they can review tape and possibly kind of zone in on who they may be looking for. We still have not found any, or we still don't have any confirmation on a person of interest, what they may look like, if they're in custody, why. Motives usually take a little bit more time to figure out, but we have not got any information on a motive or what the possible suspect could look like, or if there is even a suspect yet. There's 5 entrances into the Wolfchase Galleria. All of them are blocked off. Taking extra precautions here, our reporter was even having trouble setting up where the closest we could get was in that Dillard's parking lot because it is so blocked off all the way to the main street. That North Germantown Parkway entrance even. We saw state troopers, we saw the DEA, we saw the FBI. We've seen just a huge collaborative effort. MPD is out there as well. They were supposed to get a news conference going at 4:15, but we are still waiting to hear when the updated news conference, and hopefully it will be in the next few minutes, because as soon as they do that, we will bring you live to our Ezekiel Telemaco, who is waiting standby to ask the questions we need to know to make sure that the public can be rest assured. We are waiting for that. I'm hearing that he will be he's getting set up as we speak, and we will see what he's heard and seen himself in the field at this scene right now, as we just kind of wait and see exactly everything why everything happened and what police can tell us they've been able to piece together with the investigation. We know the Memphis Safe Task Force has been in town now for over a month, and they're doing a lot of collaborative efforts to combat crime in the area. And when something like this happens, this is a true example of how you're seeing all the different agencies working together. Homeland Security, you have State Trooper right there as well, and we know the DEA is out there and the FBI. So it's a collaborative effort, lots of multi-agency situation here, responding to a shooting at the Wolfchase Galleria. And that happened around 2 o'clock was the initial shots fired call, and then all of the police agencies and the law enforcement agencies responded shortly after. And a normal operating day for the Wolfchase Galleria, you got employees, you got shoppers, you got various workers just making the mall operate on a normal day, and it turned quite chaotic as shots fired inside, and now a heavy police presence causing the lockdown, and hopefully everyone was able to make it out safely. That will be one of the questions we are definitely going to be asking if they don't provide that information already. Was anybody hurt? We're working on that. We have not confirmed injuries, but they were able to tell us that it was an isolated incident. The shooter is not an active shooter, and the scene is secured. That is the limited information that we've been able to get from law enforcement. As you can tell, they are working in real time to piece this together. But two of the big things here, do you all have anybody in custody, and is anybody hurt? I think everybody out there would feel a lot more assured knowing that maybe somebody would be in custody and if anybody was hurt or not. So we are working to get that information for you. That press conference was supposed to be at 4:15, but now we are nearing 4:30, and hopefully they are getting ready and set up. In any minute now, we could toss it out to our Ezekiel Telemaco live, who is there setting up for that media conference with the law enforcement officers to tell us that information. But very scary situation for anybody who decided to go to the Wolfchase Galleria today, or anybody working at the Wolfchase Galleria, and anybody that you may know who might be heading home in the next 30 minutes that takes Germantown Parkway or might be coming up on that exit on I-40. Tell them to take another way. This doesn't seem like it's going to slow down anytime soon at the moment. It's not sure if even the mall is going to reopen tonight. We'll get that information hopefully as well in that press conference. So we are just waiting standby to bring you the absolute latest information that we can as soon as we receive it. State troopers have been camped out outside of this Dillard's parking lot and this Dillard's entrance since we got on the scene shortly after 2. So it has been an all-out hands-on-deck effort. There's 5 entrances into the Wolfchase Galleria. All of them are blocked off. All the ones out to the street as well, blocked off. We were able to see the one between J. Alexander's and the Starbucks, and absolutely nobody's getting in. They were letting people out, of course. We saw employees in the parking lot waiting for more information as well. They need to know if they need to finish their shift out or if they can go home. Probably waiting to see if some of their friends or people they know were able to get out safely. Very scary situation. Another question that we would hope to ask is also just where exactly in the mall do they think that this happened? That gives a better visual for you at home. If you're familiar with the Wolfchase Galleria, you know what stores are where, and maybe if you know what store it happened at or outside of, you'd be able to pinpoint a little more in your mind of how this exactly happened. But we are waiting for that information from law enforcement. We do have a reporter out on the scene live who will bring more information as we can get it. I had a friend who was shopping today as well, who was able to get out safely, but she was leaving the Primark store and heard shots is what she told me, and she texted me asking if we were covering it, and of course she was able to get home. and she is safe now. But a very scary experience for a lot of people who were inside the mall tonight or today. And that's an experience that, one, you just will not forget. And we are waiting to hear if anyone was hurt. We have not confirmed that. They have not given that information yet. And we're waiting to see if anybody is in custody. There's a lot of cameras around the Wolfchase Galleria, so hopefully the cameras were able to capture some information that can help give investigators more details on who and why this has all happened. And if they're looking for somebody or if they already have somebody in custody, we do not know yet. We will bring that to you as soon as they set up that conference where a public information officer will come out and be able to give us details on what they do know. But we know that this started around 2 o'clock. That's when we started hearing reports that shots may have been fired inside the Wolfchase Galleria. And then heavy police presence was seen shortly after that, a quick response from multiple agencies. Then around 2:30 after that, we were told that it was an isolated incident, shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene was secured. Now, secured might be moving towards where the mall has been scoured through and they've been able to really go through each and every one. But they, will know more when they're able to tell us more. But the scene being secured hopefully moves towards the mall being safe. But we'll confirm that once they're able to tell us more. We're going to try to figure out how many people were in there, how many employees. Hopefully we'll talk to some employees to see what they heard and saw as well. We definitely are going to ask about injuries and if they have somebody in custody. Those are the two, and if there is a motive. Motives usually take a little bit to figure out after all of the questioning and just trying to scope through evidence. But that will come probably a little bit after, but maybe they have it now. And so they say it's an isolated incident. They have reason to believe that. And so now we are going to go live to our reporter who's been in the field vetting all of this, seen a lot himself. So Ezekiel, what can you tell us now? What have you seen and heard?
Like us trying to get in the mall to check up on their friends, their family members. I just encountered a man in the parking lot who just asked me, hey, is the mall open? I'm trying to check on my friend to see if he's okay. So all 5 entrances so far are blocked off to get inside the mall. We had to wait over 25 minutes just to get escorted to the parking lot to come to this press conference. Now, this press conference was supposed to start at 4:15 p.m., but there were some delays because there's some new information in regards to whatever is going on here. So we're currently on standby waiting to talk to some PIO officers as to what took place here today. So as of right now, from what I've seen, is just, the DEA, the FBI. I'm not sure if I can confirm that it's the task force itself, but we've seen FBI all over the property trying to prevent people from coming in. Now, they're letting people leave the property. They're just not letting anybody come in unless you're an employee or unless you have permission from somebody to come in. So we're going to continue to monitor the situation, but as of right now, we're just on standby waiting to speak to the PIO officers to ask the questions that you all have at home.
So Ezekiel, I know you've done a lot of moving around from being inside to as close to the mall as you can get to. I know you saw some employees. Have you been able to speak to anybody who may have heard or witnessed any of the shootings or heard the shots go off?
I spoke to an employee. I spoke to actually an owner of a store. I spoke to, like I just mentioned, a man in the parking lot that I just encountered probably about 12 minutes ago, trying to come into the mall to check in on his friend to see if they're okay or not. So I've spoken to various people as to, what is going on. Some people said that they weren't really sure. They were just kind of worried, because one of the employees that I talked to said that, she works here Monday through Friday. So she's seen crazy things, but she's never seen this much police presence at this property. And she's been working here for a relatively long time, she told me. So she was just kind of, confused and worried as to what actually took place. So we're still digging for those details because there's a lot of unanswered questions as of right now, Pepper.
And Ezekiel, last question before I let you get set up there. Any idea on if the mall will reopen tonight?
Well, if you look behind me, it looks dark. There are some officers within the mall, but all the lights appear to be off. So I can't answer for that. I can't answer that question as of right now, but I'm going to make sure that I ask that question so that the people watching at home can have that answer and figure out, if they want to do some last minute shopping, they want to know if it's still open or not, they'll be able to come in and get that information from us at ABC 24.
Most definitely. Ezekiel, thank you. We will keep you on standby as soon as that media conference is up and running, and we will definitely tune back in to hear some of those details. Thank you. Now, as we continue to cover this, we know that this happened around 2 o'clock. Shots fired. It's very fluid, not a lot of information here, but we heard that there were shots fired inside the Wolfchase Galleria around 2 o'clock. This is in Cordova. You are looking at the entrance outside of Dillard's. This is as close as we could get by the time we got there just after 2, and we saw the heavy law enforcement presence right away. There's a lot of agencies out there, the DEA, the FBI, state troopers, Memphis police. That's just all we could see from our eyes. Lots of people working together here. Around 2:30, we were able to get a statement that said from law enforcement saying that it was an isolated incident, the shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene is secured. Ezekiel Telemaco, our reporter there, talking to employees who are obviously shook. Lots of shoppers were probably in there as well. Lots of people. It takes a lot of people to operate a mall. So he's saying that, you know, people wondering if their friends are okay, and then just understandably in shock about shots being fired inside of the mall. A large police presence out there. One employee telling our Ezekiel Telemaco that she has worked at the Wolfchase Galleria for a long time and has never seen law enforcement like that at the mall. But yes, anybody who goes to the mall or is familiar with the Wolfchase Galleria, this is almost worst nightmare situation if you're in there, you know, just trying to run in and do some shopping, and you hear gunshots. So we're still working to find out injuries or if a person is in custody. Our Ezekiel Telemaco is standing by where law enforcement are supposed to set up a press conference where a public information officer will hopefully come out and tell us a little more details of what exactly happened here. And once we see them start to set up, we will immediately take it live and bring you those details in real time. But a very scary situation for anybody inside the mall. If you know anybody working inside the mall, if you know anybody that was going to go do some shopping, go ahead and check on them, make sure they're okay. And this happened around the 2 o'clock hour. We have been following it for about 2.5 hours now, trying to figure out more information. Clearly, more information they must have got more information to delay the news conference that was supposed to be at 4:15. They delayed it, and so maybe that tells us that they're piecing together a little bit more of the puzzle here and able to make more of an update, give more of an update once they are able to put all of that evidence into play. So we are following this. Ezekiel Telemaco, our reporter, is out there at the Wolfchase Galleria, closer to the mall now than we were able to see him before, as we still try to piece together exactly what exactly happened. So at 2 o'clock, we were tipped off to shots fired inside the Wolfchase Galleria. Then there was a huge police presence that followed shortly after that. Then around 2:30, we got a statement from law enforcement saying that it was an isolated incident, that the shooter is not an active shooter, and that the scene was secured. We saw employees coming out, some shoppers coming out. Nobody was allowed in. All the roads around the Wolfchase Galleria totally blocked. North Germantown Parkway, you cannot get in to the Wolfchase Galleria. Heavy traffic along North Germantown Parkway, and we're nearing 5 o'clock, which is when a lot of people get off work. So you can imagine that it's probably going to have some traffic delays. That exit from I-40 onto Germantown Parkway might have some trouble there as well. So anybody that you know works in this area, or anybody that takes this way home, or if you were thinking about going shopping right when you got off work to grab something, hold off maybe till tomorrow or until we know when the mall will be open again. This is a very fluid, active situation. We do know that the police presence there has not let up. It is heavy there, all the way out to the street, multi-agency effort here. We're seeing the DEA, the FBI, state troopers, Memphis police is out there. Just a very fluid situation as we get information in real time as I give them to you. Our Ezekiel Telemaco is on standby where we believe law enforcement will be set up to give us more information. We still need to know about injuries. We need to know if there's a suspect, if they have anybody in custody, if they have any pictures of anybody that they might have an idea who might be responsible. The Wolfchase Galleria has a lot of cameras, some in the parking lot, some inside, some at probably some at every entrance. So hopefully that will play into this investigation and help law enforcement agencies follow or get more information of who might be there, who might be responsible. So we're continuing to follow this. We are live at the Wolfchase Galleria. You could still see the law enforcement hasn't let up at all. The sun is setting now. It's getting a lot darker out earlier as well. So we're going to continue staying on this. It's not sure whether the mall will reopen, but from what we could tell from our Ezekiel Telemaco reporting, that the mall was dark. The mall would only be open for a few more hours now, so it might be best to keep it closed for the rest of the night, but we are not completely sure on that yet, so hopefully we'll have more. We're hearing now that the news conference will be in 3 minutes, so we will, of course, bring that to you as soon as we see law enforcement getting set up. But we are now hearing that they are ready to give us an update in about 3 minutes. And we've been talking a little bit about what we want to learn from that. Of course, if they have someone in custody, if there are any injuries, why this happened, what the person might look like, and where exactly in the mall it happened. Why, again, is always kind of hard to get preliminary in the preliminary area time period, just because you got to do a lot of reporting and just interviewing to figure out exactly a motive. But it could very well be something that they were able to piece together already. But we definitely need to know if anybody was hurt in all of this, how many people were in the mall, how many people were working, how many shoppers, if people got out safely, if anybody was stuck. So Ezekiel Telemaco had talked about how he's talked to some employees who are reasonably shook from all of this and hoping their friends are okay, and just kind of worried about all of it. The law enforcement presence is huge out there, so anybody seeing that right away would be concerned, of course. But we're hearing that they're set to speak in about less than 3 minutes now, so we will most definitely bring that live shot back up right to them as soon as they get set up to give us a little more of what they've been able to compile from their investigation. But it is still blocked off going into the Wolfchase Galleria. You cannot get in there. Germantown Parkway might be a little bit of a mess right now because of it, but all for good reason. These law enforcement agencies are trying to pinpoint what happened now that there has been reports of a shooting inside the Wolfchase Mall. Wolfchase Galleria. So our Ezekiel Telemaco is live. We will bring him back as soon as we see a little more movement from the law enforcement agencies getting ready to tell us an update. So we'll hear first from the Memphis Police Department, who will speak first, and then we might hear from other representatives from the other agencies. So we're seeing that they're talking now. We're going to take them live at this moment. Let's listen in.
Shooting at located a victim who was transported to a local hospital in critical condition and then later was pronounced deceased. A suspect fled the Wolfchase Galleria Mall in a white SUV. He was later identified and has since been detained. I would like to go ahead at this time and thank the men and women of the Memphis Police Department, along with our federal partners with the Memphis Safe Task Force, who worked quickly and swiftly to get this individual identified, located, and taken into custody. At this point in time, I want to remind the community that our goal is to always provide a safer Memphis and continue to make this a safer city at this point in time. Any questions?
Where was the person detained, the suspect detained?
It's an ongoing investigation. At this time, I don't have that information.
And there was only one person died?
At this point in time, we have one victim, yes. I do not have that information at this point in time.
Do you know why the shooting happened?
At this time, preliminary investigation indicates that the two individuals were involved in an altercation inside of the mall, which then possibly led to the shooting.
Do you know the altercation?
I do not know at this time. It's an ongoing investigation. I do not have the suspect's age at this point in time. Once again, it's an ongoing investigation, and we are waiting for the family to have that identification made. At this point, I would like to add and thank them all. Their procedures assisted us with their lockdown procedures. Our training with the mall that we have done in the past went ahead and made this for a very smooth scene. Their CCTV cameras definitely assisted us with this apprehension at this point in time.
Colonel, on the way in, I saw some HSI troopers and some state troopers. Can you tell me about the collaboration between federal?
There were members of the Memphis Safe Task Force that are working alongside our task force at this point in time.
Thank you, Colonel.
All right, thank you all.
Is the mall going to be reopening?
The mall currently is open as we speak right now. Thank you
The
all.
mall.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. If I would shoot any follow-ups, shoot me an email.
Okay.
Okay, so a lot of information there. A little more. They did say that a victim was in critical condition and then later died at the hospital. Very sad to hear that. They do have a suspect that ended up fleeing or left in a white SUV after the shooting, but they were able to ID and get him in custody later. And this all happening really in a short amount of time. That was Colonel Gerard Tuznick from MPD, and he was able to say that there was a suspect in custody. Unfortunately, a victim died at the hospital, but he would not release victims or the suspect's information. The family, of course, of the victim has to be identified or has to be notified first, and then the suspect's information was not available. He couldn't give an age or a name. He did say that the two individuals or the two people involved had an altercation that led to the shootings. Now, this was a part, we kept talking about collaborative effort here from multiple agencies. This was a part of the Memphis Safe Task Force. A lot of them responding quickly and was able to really attributed to how they were able to find the suspect fast, ID the suspect, and take that suspect into custody. So he also gave a lot of credit to the cameras around the mall and that the mall's protocol really helped in this situation. And then lastly there, that the mall is open. I did want to ask if our Ezekiel Telemaco is ready, if he can kind of give a little bit more. We couldn't hear all of the questions that were asked. So Ezekiel, can you kind of fill in the blanks here, give us a recap of what happened?
Yeah, so they're saying that there was an altercation that ultimately led up to a shooting at this mall. Now, they're saying that this happened around 2:09 p.m. and that a suspect later fled in a white SUV. They said that the Memphis Safe Task Force actually identified that man, and then they were able to catch him. He is currently detained right now. And as for that person that was shot, they were in critical condition and then eventually pronounced dead at the hospital. We're still working on more details as to who the victim was and who did the shooting. But right now we're still working on that and filling in those blanks. So I'm sure that more information is going to come to us as we go. But the mall is actually open as of right now too. I guess people can continue their shopping. But I'm assuming since the mall is open, that means that the blockades are possibly stopped. I still need to check in and confirm that with a PIO. But as of right now, that's all the information that we have.
Ezekiel, was anybody able to ask where exactly in the mall that this happened? Was it outside of a store, inside of a store?
I don't think they've answered the specifics as to where it specifically happened, but I'm sure that those details will come later. I'm sure that they have some video footage of it that will be working to get us a team at ABC 24, but they didn't answer that question, no.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Ezekiel. Excellent reporting out there. And I know you'll probably try to grab some people going in and out or touch back base with the public information officer. So we'll let you get back to your job and we'll keep you on standby in case anything else develops. Thank you. So yes, we just heard from the Memphis Police Department Colonel, and recapping now on coverage that we brought to you at around 2 o'clock. We're reaching 3 hours now. A victim unfortunately passed away at the hospital after a shooting at the Wolfchase Galleria. The suspect left in a white SUV, but then was shortly after identified and detained, and of course is now in custody. This was all in collaboration with the Memphis Safe Task Force. That's what the colonel really attributed to the swift action and the quick action of getting that suspect in custody, was really to that collaborative effort and quick action by the Memphis Safe Task Force. Now, the information as far as who the suspect is and who the victim was not available. The victim's family has to be notified of what happened. Of course, our thoughts are with that family. And then the suspect information was not available at this time. Now, the two individuals involved, the colonel said, were in an altercation that led to the shooting. And all of this they were able to piece together this in this quick time, or in this short amount of time, because of the cameras. The cameras around the Wolfchase Galleria, inside, outside, and in the parking lot really helped in their investigation to even get this much information at this point. And the mall's protocol as well, locked down and making sure that people could leave as quick as they could. He also attributed that. So the mall is open. We were wondering if it was going to be open. I guess if you wanted to go by there and get your last little shopping done to close out the workday, you could, but just keep in mind there's still a law enforcement presence in that area. But we will bring you more updates as they come in. For now, we are going to end this coverage here. So thank you for watching, and we'll bring you more updates as we get them.
ABC 24 News starts right now with breaking news.